Exercise.
Here we go. This is the Disruptive Voices of the Pacific podcast, and you have joined us in the middle of our series, Sex, Dating and Relationships. I think this is about episode 10 on this topic because this is really important. And for those of you who know me, I'm really passionate about healthy relationships, about seeing less abuse, less pornography, less oppression. And so we're talking about these taboo topics to hopefully get some discussion going, get some thoughts going, bring in God's ways. The Bible talks about this. He's not silent on it, and neither should we. And today we are talking about moving on after a breakup. Now, last week, Joey and I did a podcast, an episode on how to break up well. If you haven't listened to that, please go and listen to it because I think this episode now continues on from that. But great to have you back, Joe.
Lovely to be back here again,
Thank
Leticia.
you. And last week we found out that you are now dating somebody, so that's very exciting, and we might talk about that more in another episode. I'll keep teasing people. But for those who are just tuning in for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Joe, and I work with a ministry that is committed to evangelism and discipleship on campus. The ministry internationally is known as CREW, and I've been working with this ministry now as a missionary for 10 years. So I work specifically on our national leadership team. We provide leadership and direction for our whole staff team.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for what you do, such an important ministry here in Fiji and across the world, really. Now, I'm passionate about this area of breaking up because I've worked with young women for 20 years and I've seen some disasters. Usually after the breakup, there's a rebound because they haven't healed properly and they rebound into the next guy's arms, and it's never a good way to start a relationship when you haven't fully recovered from the last one. Breakups are a part of life. Most of us have been through them. And maybe some of you need to have the courage, and you know that you're in a relationship right now where you do need to break up. There is no shame in breaking up. There's no shame that realising that this relationship's not right, it's not going anywhere. So we hope these podcasts are helping you. You talked last week that you have had couple of relationships, learnt a lot of things through them, through how to break up as well. But then it's, quite often sometimes you break up and then you can feel this real emptiness in your life. And of course, there can still be feelings. Not every breakup you hate the person. There's still feelings and emotions, or if the person's broken up with you, that's really hard when you still want to be in the relationship. So let's talk about the issue of grieving. I think that's a really important one. Grieving, taking time to grieve, how important is that?
This is the most important aspect of breaking up is grieving, and grieving well. So when I say grieving, I mean that you have to come to terms firstly with the decision that has been made, that this relationship has come to an end. So grieving is accepting that 100% you agree with this, that this has happened. And grieving also means not holding anything in spite of the other person. It actually means being thankful for the time, the season, and even the emotional connections that you made. We have to be thankful for that, accept that, and most importantly as well, during this phase, is you need to the person who is going through breakup needs to understand that grieving doesn't last forever. It's actually meant to be a transitional phase, and this is where I think young people get tripped up, and not even young people, everybody, is because they love the relationship so much and the experience of it that they can't fathom that it has come to an end. And so what happens is they prolong the grieving phase, which is meant to actually be a transitional period to healing and wholeness again, where you are now ready again to begin the process of dating and finding your spouse.
I love that grieving actually comes to terms with there's been a loss.
Yes.
Now, for some people might end a relationship and be rejoicing and might feel this whole new freedom. And that's, that can happen, and I've spoken particularly to women because it's just been stifling for them, and so suddenly they feel. But generally, and especially again, if you weren't the person who broke it off and it was the bomb and you were totally surprised, it's a real loss of memories, a loss of maybe times you spent with their family, things, you've travelled together. There can be a whole range, it just depends on the relationship. So it's important that we stop and go, I'm losing something. Even if I'm happy that it's over, there was still some good parts.
Yes.
He was still a good guy. So I love that, just not carrying on like, oh, it's okay and I'm fine and blah, blah, blah.
There's also an experience of the loss of something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because you've been in a relationship and you've forecasted where it would end. So this is where it becomes really painful, because that pain was the pain of the loss of something that was to come, that you thought and felt would happen. That's such a deep pain because you had seen so far ahead.
Yeah.
So that also you need to grieve from that, right? Accept that it's not going to happen. That you will have to move on, but be thankful for the time that you.
And it's, for girls, it can be really hard because, I'm just speaking on behalf of a girl, because we put all our hope in that man, and unfortunately sometimes we've got the wedding planned already, which is brutal. And then it's the fear of, well, where am I going to find another guy? Will I ever get married? And if you're a bit older, so it's the fear of the unknown. Will I have children? All those things. But again, we just got to sit in that pain and give it to Jesus is really important. Let him know how much you're hurting and what you're feeling. So then we talked in the previous episode on breaking up well, just the importance of disconnecting. It might mean changing friendship groups for a while, or churches or Bible studies or sporting groups, because just to turn up each week and see that person can be hard. What about as far as gifts and things? How is it important that we kind of get rid of all of that, any memories, or can we keep that?
What comes to mind is this inanimate objects. They're inanimate objects. They don't have any. They don't have any mind, will, emotions, but they have memories attached to them. And so I think a lot of people can take this lightly, because you received a really good gift, right? You got an iPhone. What is it now?
Yeah.
For your
16.
For your 1 month anniversary of being together.
Wow. Who gives that? Need to find him.
I'm fooling around here. But you got like the latest iPhone, right? But you're like, oh, but this doesn't affect me, this was a gift. No, but it actually does. Yeah. If someone's heart was in there, and whatever gift it was given with such a deep emotional connection to you. And even for you being the one on the receiving end, you'd have to really make the difficult decision to let go of these things. Because what you don't want is to be carrying around. You want to be it's okay to carry your scars, because they heal. You got scars, you got that scar. It's not okay to carry around wounds that you've got, open wounds that. And what I think memorabilia does, these gifts do, is they keep those wounds open.
Yeah.
So you might want to, say for instance, you've got this T-shirt she gave you, and you love it, but at the same time the relationship is not there anymore. You don't want to be attached to that. You need to be able to disconnect yourself healthily. And when I say that disconnect, when we talk about this word disconnect, I'm not talking about disconnecting yourself from community. In a breakup, especially one that is so deep, maybe dating for over a year, maybe 2 years, you were going to get married, but it ends. You don't want to be disconnecting yourself from your community of friends and family who will love on you, encourage you, and help lift you up.
Yeah. I think, you've got to, that's when you need community even more. But talking about the disconnect, it's not helpful to sit down and read through old love letters or text messages. You're probably just best to delete those. Or, you know, take down that photo of you two off the wall. And this is brutal, but your emotions, anything that keeps stirring up your emotions and causing you to wish you were back there is not helpful, is it?
It's not helpful at all. And this is where I think in the age of social media now, and with relationships as such, like relationships are no longer something that's treasured, and it's something that's how would I say this, valued. So it's sort of like a quick fix. And what happens with quick fixes is too much too fast. You make all these connections, Letitia, that are quite deep. You've got photos of each other everywhere. You've got messages with each other everywhere. It's almost as if, and people, what they do now is they make new social media profiles.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
But you need to disconnect yourself from these spaces so that you can heal well.
Yeah, and it is so tough, but it's so important because, you might have been great friends and he's the only one who understands me. I hear girls say that. And so when you're lonely, you're tempted to, even though, say the girl breaks it off, but then a week later she's lonely and she's like, oh, let's just hang out as friends. That's sending guys a mixed message. It's just, this is where you've got to be just really disciplined and go call up your girlfriend, not the old guy friend, because just keeps leading them on, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I have really good girlfriends. There was this one a few years ago. I was having this conversation with one of these friends, these female friends, and she said that she was still talking. I think she asked me a question. Hey Joe, is it okay to still talk to your exes? I was like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay because it's either you're leading him on or you're still attached to him, and there's nothing that's ever going to eventuate.
Yeah.
And it's just an unhealthy place to be.
Yeah, I mean that's initially, hey, after time and when you feel like you've healed and you moved on, then I hope you can still be friends with your exes. You don't want to have to avoid these people all your life, and if we're mature enough we can do that, which is fine that way as well. What are some of the, maybe it comes under disconnecting, what are some of the other important boundaries we've talked about? Not texting, maybe throwing away the objects.
So you don't want to keep your gifts, you don't want to keep those letters or messages. For me personally, I had to disconnect myself from various spaces that we were involved together in, and people knew about us and the relationship. So I think, drawing those healthy boundaries, like you don't want to stay talking to one another after the decision has been made. If you've had healthy amounts of dialogue in between, so that each person understands that they're valued still, but that the relationship isn't working well, and that you've had to end it. An end had to happen. The healthy dialogue is done. That's where it ends. Like there's no more like, hey, I miss you, or I don't think I'll find someone else like you again. And no, once the decision made, that's where your community comes in. You call your girlfriend, guys, hit the gym. We make fun of this a lot. But there's a meme out there. Guy broke up. Guy breaks up with his girlfriend and is heading to the gym to lift 3 times his body weight.
Exactly.
But that's what it is. And his buddy's on his way to go and help him.
That's great. From sometimes, and again, I'm speaking from the female point of view, girls have tried to break up, and they've done all that we've talked about. But the guys, and we hear that guys love a challenge, they love to pursue, and they're not going to take her no for an answer, and they just keep going and keep turning up and almost get a little bit stalkish and weird. What can a girl do in that instance?
What can a girl do in that instance? Before we head into it, let me just say, I know of couples who are married right now, and they're married because the guy had
Exactly.
had pursued these women. Um, but it was obvious, they did so because it was obvious that there was attraction, but there were just certain areas that I think the girl wasn't sure about, but was there attraction? Yes. Was there potential? Yes. There was massive potential, like both. And then I think in these cases, like I said, I know of couples who
me too.
are doing amazing right now because of the guy's stubbornness in that area to continue pursuing her. But he saw signs that she was really interested. She was just dealing with certain things in her life. But on the opposite side, if you've got someone who is not going to take no for an answer, you need to distance yourself from them. Seriously, take this seriously, because it could be a dangerous situation, Letitia. Try and get others involved in that space where if someone's not taking a no for an answer, you want to get some people involved in that space. Like say, hey, this person is being a bit too hard on his approach with me. I've said no, and he's continuing to do it. So bring people into the conversation, bring people to that place that both know you.
Exactly.
Can speak sense into the guy.
Absolutely. Now, at the time, quite often breakups can feel like the end of our life, but it's not. We still have an amazing future and a hope ahead. So part of moving on, how much a part of moving on is building into our life, and how should we be doing that?
So I like to believe, as a staunch Christian, someone who loves the Lord, that there is intrinsic value for each of us. Each individual God has so much value and a plan and direction for your life. And there is an intrinsic beauty about your life alone as an individual. So if people could understand that, that means you're not needing someone else to sort of give rise to a future that you think would be the best for you. So like a lot of people think, I'm a half looking for another half. My future is I'm married with kids, and even before you find your spouse, like there's an intrinsic value to your individual person in life. And so I think one of the main things that you can do is to be 100% present with your life. So after the breakup happens, you're with your community, you're healing. Put that focus back on yourself. Where is my life headed, and what am I doing with this life? Be 100% engaged with it. Once you take your eyes off of once you've healed, once you've gone through the process of grieving, you start to see, like in my experience, I started to see the beauty of my own life, that God had a calling on my life still, that there was a value to it. Even if I didn't have someone with me, there was a value to my life, and it's so funny because everything around my life became an opportunity. Wow, it's beautiful. Like I get to find myself in an outrigger canoe with 5 other people paddling on this ocean, and I never would have known that if I didn't put that focus back on my life and be engaged 100% in the areas and in the spaces. So that's with family, with friends. I would never have found the gym that I currently am at right now. It's just so wonderful. You start to see the beauty of your life and the opportunities available.
That's so important. So we've talked about grieving, acknowledging the loss, the hurt, the pain, and the importance of that. The drawing the boundaries, getting rid of things, reminders, but then the rebuilding the opportunities. Things like you mentioned, we joked about going to the gym, but the worst possible thing you can do if you're broken up and you're feeling down and depressed is stay at home watching love movies or listening to love songs or Netflix, getting your body moving because that releases positive endorphins. So exercising, finding new hobbies, travelling, volunteering. You've really just, you don't feel like it, but you've just got to put yourself out there, otherwise you can really end up in the dumps. So those practical things, you might need counselling, and there's no shame in that, especially again if it's been a long-term relationship and things that you realise you've got to work on. So do whatever you can to focus. I love the Bible. It says, love others as you love yourself. So if I don't love myself, I can't love anyone else. And And so learning to love yourself might be a really important thing. Go get that massage. Do whatever it takes. So moving on, there's still a future and a hope. At the moment, you might feel like your heart is totally broken and shattered, but it won't always feel like that. So thank you again, Joe. Just really great advice in there, things that we don't talk about much, but here we are discussing, and we trust that that has helped you. So hope to see you again next week for another exciting episode of the Disruptive Voices of the Pacific.